So here I am in front of a beautiful lake, staying at a lakeside cabin with all of my kids. I have 4 kids, 18, 20, 22, and 24, and a couple of them have brought their significant others as well. I'm sitting here so grateful for this day because over the last 6 years, it has been a slow build up to this point. Some of you already know my story. I got divorced in 2019. You know, it's hard anytime you go through a divorce, like emotionally, financially, and I know a lot of you have gone through breakups, whether it's a divorce or a long-term relationship, and you know how hard it is. It was really hard for me financially because I had worked in the church for so long, and so I had never really established my own career. I was actually going to college at the time to get my psychology degree, and I was also working in the church part-time, making $400 a month, which most of it was actually going to my son's piano lessons. I never had a career of my own ever, other than working in the church. I was a worship leader, I was an associate pastor, and if you've worked in the church or you're familiar with the church, you know this is not really the place to make money. Of course, there's exceptions to that rule, and there's pastors that you see that do make money, but in 90% of churches across America, nobody's making money. And I certainly was one of those people that was not making money. When I got divorced in 2019, I graduated college a couple months later. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. My original plan was to continue on and get my bachelor's degree, but now that I was a single mom, my kids were 12 to 18 at the time. I had one that had graduated high school the same time I had graduated college. I needed to find a way to bring in income. And at the time I was working at my local gym as a front desk person just to bring in a little bit of cash. I had really found people there that were supportive and a community that really loved me, pushed me. After leaving the church, I didn't really want to leave that community, to be honest with you, just because it was so supportive and I felt loved and understood and supported in anything that I wanted to do. Because I was loving training and working out, I actually really wanted to stay and help run the gym because in my psychology degree, I actually wanted to use it to do some sort of human resources position. I also had considered marketing. So I decided to plant my feet in the gym and just really stay. I ended up getting my personal training certificate that year, and I started taking on personal training clients as a way to make more money, as a way to bring in more clients to the gym, and that was actually working super well. I was super excited because it felt like for the first time in my life I had a career. I was tying in all the things that I had learned over the last 20 years because, when you are doing personal training with people, you have that hour with them that you are getting into their life and learning about who they are, really meeting them where they're at while you're working out with them. And so a lot of the things that I learned as a pastor, a lot of the things that I had learned while obtaining my psychology degree, I was actually using in personal training. So it felt really good. It felt like this whole complete package. I was doing that for maybe 6 months. And then March of 2020 came along, and I bet you all know exactly what I'm talking about. So COVID happened, shut down gyms. I kept about half of my client base. I trained them on Zoom. And then the other half, they were like, we'll come back. Most of those people never came back. I really wanted to keep my clients going because I knew I was going to continue to work out. It was really a mindset piece for me where I was like, I know you have all these goals, and just because this is happening doesn't mean we should stop. So let's find a way to keep going. That was my mindset for me. That was my mindset for my clients, and about half of them came on board and kept training with me even through the mess of 2020. But I did take a hit to my income because I was still working. I couldn't take unemployment, which actually in the short term would have made more sense for me to just not work at all and to take the unemployment check. But it was the principle for me that I did not want to do that. I wanted to continue to work. I wanted to continue to help my clients. And so by a matter of core values and principles, I kept going, but my finances definitely suffered. I went into debt. I maxed out a few credit cards. Fast forward a few years later, I got sued by one of those credit card companies. I settled with a couple others. Over this span of time, I'm just struggling to make it financially. Still dealing with kids who are, healing from their mom and dad getting a divorce. Me healing from this whole thing. The finances. I live in California. My family lives in South Dakota. There was so much struggle in this that I really had to have grit in order to just be okay. I can say with confidence that I really did show up day in, day out for my clients. If you go back on my Instagram, you're going to see continued posts. I stayed with what I was doing. I stayed with the message. I lived the message that I was talking about. A lot of grit, a lot of perseverance, a lot of discipline, a lot of learning to even stay soft-hearted in a world that felt very unkind to me at that time. You know, that's really what I've lived. It's really what I've preached. It's really what I've talked about throughout the whole time. I like saying this video because I think sometimes, you know, you see what's up front, you see the end result, but you don't know the story behind the story. And so going back to this whole timeline thing, because I don't want to spend too much time, because I actually want to share with you about this moment right here, because it's a culmination of everything that has happened over these past 6 years. So I had been sued. I was in debt, struggling to pay bills. My dad had passed away in 2021. My sister passed away in 2022. For a good while, I didn't go home to see my family except for funerals and sick visits. That really took a toll on me emotionally and financially as well. When I got divorced in 2019, 2020, a couple of my kids had really had a hard time with it. Our relationship was strained. And my youngest daughter, especially, she was really struggling with this whole idea of a broken up family. There were things that she was told that just simply weren't true. And it took her about a year before she would even spend time with me. But those things healed, those things mended, thankfully. That's a whole nother YouTube video, by the way. But in 2022, she decided that she actually wanted to come live with me, that she wanted to go to a different school. And that became a source of contention with me and her dad, who decided to file an emergency order for full custody. And I didn't know this, but apparently you can do that as a parent, and he did. And so for about a month, I could only see my daughter if my ex-husband decided it was okay. And that was infuriating to me. I had to fight through the court system in order to get custody back. I had to fight for her to be able to go to a different school. Thankfully, I won that battle. And she eventually went to go back and live with her dad because the school thing didn't work out. But as soon as she had decided to go back and live with her dad, he had decided to file a child support order on me, even though we had never done child support previous to that, like when she was living with me or even before that. And she was 17 at the time. So that was another hit financially to me. Like, I'm just kind of giving you this broad stroke picture of everything, all these little pieces that have happened over the last 6 years. A lot of struggle to sit here in front of this beautiful lake with this lakeside cabin in front of me, to have my whole family here with me, because during that whole time, I watched all of my kids go on vacation with their dad several times. Like, he took them to Hawaii, he took them to Bermuda, he took my daughter to New York City to go see Billie Eilish. Like, all these trips had happened, and it wasn't that I didn't want them to go on trips. It was that they were able to go on trips with their dad, and I could barely afford a family dinner at the time. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say there were times that the only thing that I had with them in those moments were family dinners. And so I would invite them all, because they didn't all live with me. I would invite them all over for dinner. And I remember specifically a time that I had $21 in my bank account and not that much food in the pantry. So I was just like, God, how can I feed everybody and make it fun? Because, like, even if you can figure out how to feed everybody, can you still be fun? Can you still be the mom that shows up? Can you still be the place that they love being? You know, because it wasn't just that I didn't have money. It was that I wanted them to be at home with me too. Just that safe place where it felt like home, and where they loved being with their mom. Finances are completely tied to emotions. I know that to be true because it does something mentally and emotionally to you when you struggle to provide. And I say this with fear and trembling. I'm not up here talking about financial freedom. I'm not up here talking about how to make more money online. I don't touch that. I profess to know nothing when it comes to that, to be honest with you. But what I do know, I know what it takes emotionally and mentally just to be able to get out of that pit, to show up with the kind of energy for the people around you, the people that you work with, the people that you love, the people that you bring into your home while you're still struggling financially. And all this time, I'm still working out physically, trying to like have a good body and like be a model. And I've had my ups and downs physically with everything too. And I remember the feeling of being on a cut and you're hungry, like physically hungry. and then you go to your bank account and there's nothing in there. So I'd be counting my macros and I'm like, I'm starving and I only have 10 grams of protein and 0 carbs and 0 fat left. And I'd be like so hungry. And I'd go to like my bank account and like there's like negative $30 in there. And the fight to just stay positive is not even the right word. The fight to still keep going, to not just say F it, to not just say forget it. Like, I'm gonna go eat whatever I want. I'm gonna do whatever I can to make money. Like, even if it's not anything I wanna do. I always stayed within the sphere of what I was working on. Like, I did a few other side hustles, like I did meal prep for people, I built websites, but all that was sort of within what I was already doing at my job anyway. Like, I was already meal prepping for myself, so it was just another way to kind of make some side money. I was already building websites for the company I was working for, so I was like, okay, maybe if I can do a couple of these freelance on the side. Fast forward, I'm making more money, I have more clients, which is great, is exactly what I help people with. Sometimes when you're in the struggle, you're like, why am I experiencing all this struggle? Why am I going through all of these hardships? And in those moments, I would hear God speak to me and be like, don't worry about the why. You don't need to know why right now. I just need you to trust me. I need you to keep your eyes on me, and I need you to continue down the path that I have told you to. And I did. And now, looking back at everything that I've experienced, like, losing my dad and my sister, experiencing that financial hardship as a single parent, dealing with heartbreak in a relationship, dealing with kids who were estranged to me for a period of time, like dealing with really heavy, hard things. And I encounter a lot of people that I coach, and what I am able to give to them is everything that I did in order to come out of that on the other side of it better. Like, I didn't come out of that just surviving. I came out of it thriving. This is not a brag moment at all, by the way, but I'm so grateful that I'm sitting here in this place, because I know what it's like to be sitting at home watching my kids go on vacation and just feeling so lonely, and I get to be here with them. And I've loved every moment of this trip, and to be able to sit here and enjoy them. One of the turning points for me was earlier this year, actually. I had just finished paying my last child support, and there was a little anger in me, to be honest. Like, not angry, bitter, because I really had to have God work with me on that, and that's a whole nother YouTube video, to be honest with you. But I was angry in the sense of, like, I have had all of these things placed upon me, like my whole life, to be honest with you. And so it was at that moment where I was just like, I am going to decide to do something, because every time I've had something come at me, I've always made it through. Like, God has always helped me through everything, whether it was financially, emotionally, whatever it was. And so it was kind of like, well, why don't I use that sort of faith to actually decide to do something that I wanted to do? And it sounds so silly, but one of the things that had happened from the stress of all these things that had gone on over the years was my hair had thinned out. It was breaking, it was damaged. And yes, I highlight my hair, and so some of it was just from that. But I had also gone through so much that my hair, it wasn't super, super thin, but it definitely had lost its thickness. And I was so sad about it, because my hair was something I was super proud of. And hair extensions are super expensive. But I had decided in my last child support payment, I was like, I am going to get some hair extensions. Which, by the way, I think you should take financial advice from me just a little bit, at least like have the faith component to it. So take that for what it's worth. But I just decided, like, I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And I got hair extensions. That just sort of set this whole momentum thing off for me, where I just started living from a whole different energy space, where I was just like, I'm going to take ground. Like, I've been living on my back foot for way too long, and I'm just going to take ground. That's why I say this carefully, but like over the last 6 months or so, I have been able to make so much more ground just by having that sort of energy, that sort of attitude. And I don't think it was just that. I think it was a culmination of everything that's happened over the last 6 years. But now, I guess I just want to say I'm so grateful to be able to live new season where things are completely different. And that's really the message that I have. The whole point of telling you this whole story wasn't to just, blab on and tell you about my story. The point to this whole thing is that what I want for you to do is, first of all, whatever hardship that you are facing right now, there is gold in there for you. There is glimmer in the dust. And I want you to find what that is. There's lessons in there for you. There's strength for you to find. I use a lot of illustrations a lot because a lot of what I do is, physical training. And one thing that I know about growing muscle and getting stronger is that you have to lift heavier loads and you have to have time under tension in order to build muscle and in order to get stronger. And the same thing goes for life. Like, you can look at your trials as all of these things that are coming against you and like, why is this happening to me? And that's really from that sort of victim mindset, which that will keep you stuck if you stay there. Like, I get having those thoughts in moments. It's going to happen, but do not stay in that sort of mind state. I want you to find what the lesson is, because there's a test for you to pass in there. That's how God works things together for your good. When you find the lesson in the loss, when you find the testimony in the test, like, not to sound cheesy, but that's really what I've had to do, is really find God in the hardest moments of my life. And that's really what helped me to come out of all those situations, not just surviving, but thriving, passing a lot of those tests. I didn't pass every test. Sometimes those tests came back around. There's quite a few tests that came back around. And then looking back, if I knew now what I knew then, I don't know if it would have taken me 6 years to get to this point. And that's genuinely one of the reasons why I share all these things with you. I hope you can hear what I'm trying to say, because I actually want to shortcut that time for you. I don't want it to take 6 years for you to get out of a pit emotionally, financially, any of those things, because it was a long 6 years, and it wasn't all bad either, by the way. Like, there was definitely good moments in there too. And then the second thing is really, I want you to, not only do I want you to come out of the test having found the treasure, I want you to take ground. Even when it seems unlikely, I want you to take ground. Faith moves. Faith takes action, and it might be the smallest of action. It might mean choosing to not be in a depressive state every day. To me, that is one of the things that got me out of this season of just like struggle, is even if I wasn't able to make those big moves, I took a lot of tiny little moves. Every single habit that I have, I get up early in the morning. I spend time in prayer. I talk to God. I journal. I work out most days of the week. I eat well. I choose healthy foods. I'm not perfect on any of it either, by the way. I have been almost perfect in a lot of seasons so that I could establish that sort of discipline. I kept the standards super, super high. And, my body has shown for it. Like, I have results in the gym for it. I can point to all of those things. And a lot of people are like, what does that have to do with staying at a lake cabin with your family? And I'll tell you, it has everything to do with it. Because if you don't have the sort of mindset that you're going to take action, that you're going to work on yourself, that you're going to take care of yourself, even if I would have gotten out of that situation better financially, would I have been able to get out of it emotionally better? Like, I think about the habits that I have in my life. It's not that it helped me financially, it did, but it helped me to be able to be here and be present and be able to be the kind of person that my kids want to be around. That to me is worth probably more than the financial aspect of it, because we could be here, we could be at my home, we could be anywhere. And if we can enjoy each other's company, I can be present, I can be joyful and give that joy to the people in my life. That's worth more to me than anything. And so that's really the point of this video today. I hope that you take away gems from my story, and I hope that you like this video. So if you do like this video, subscribe, find me on Instagram, connect with me. I love to hear from you, and I'd actually love to pray with you. So if you have a trial that you're facing, I want you to put it in the comments and I will pray for you. So, all right, have a good day.